Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling children and parents to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with a space to have conversations on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates give us an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, well, we write thought pieces every other Sunday. We have one scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. If it is the case that you're looking for listening alternatives, well, we're available on 10 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we provided you access with the links down below. As is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô, les meufs et les mecs. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. Now, alternative to our first video this week where we talked about how to support yourself when you're feeling low, which is really just engaging with the emotional state of feeling low, embracing the state, and learning how to respond to your needs when you're feeling low. Now we're talking about how to pick yourself back up. So different ways to pick yourself back up and to move along with your life. And I think that it's really important that, one, we recognize that we need to respect and give ourselves space for the emotions that we feel, but also we need to recognize when we're veering on the self-indulgence side and steering near the self-pity lane, and that's when it's time to pick ourselves back up and to move on with the lessons learned and the growth that we've experienced. So that's what this video is really going to be about. It's about different ways and strategies to pick yourself up, to feel better, to move on. When it is the case that we've reached that fork in the road, and we all are familiar with that fork, when you know you're feeling better, but you have the choice, right? You can A, get comfortable feeling low, get comfortable in that emotional state, you've been feeling it for a while, or B, brush it off and pick yourself back up. Now, because you're part of the Game Changer community, I know you've picked B. I know you're gonna pick yourself back up, but you just need some tools to figure out how to do it. And I'm here to give you my top 4 ways of how I pick myself back up when I realize that I've given myself enough space to feel low, that I've acknowledged those emotions, I've done the inner work, and I'm ready to move on. Now, just recognize it's not like the snap moment, like you're ready to move on, you wake up the next day and everything is fine. There's a process as we transition from one emotional state to another, and we're in the driver's seat of that process. So a lot of the times we don't take stock of the amount of decision making that we have ownership of when it comes to the emotional states that we cycle through, but we always have the choice to stay in that state longer than we need to, or to push ourselves back up and to bounce back out of it. So for me, I have a general sense of how long I need to sit in specific emotions. I've spent enough time time with the emotions that I experience fairly frequently to know like how much is enough time before it becomes a little bit on the self-indulgent side, veering a little bit into self-pity. And because those are not the states that I care to indulge in personally, when I recognize that I've done enough work and I'm ready to kind of pick myself back up, I typically will engage in these 4 tips. And let's jump into tip number 1. So the first tip is alternate realities. And this is the one that I do the most, and it is very beneficial for me personally. And this is just stepping into a different storyline. So whether this is watching a feel-good movie, going to a museum, and just stepping into someone else's world where I only need to play the role of the observer. So I don't need to engage, I don't need to interact, but I'm still impacted. I'm inspired, I'm renewed, I'm refreshed. And I think a movie, especially like movies are so accessible now, is like the best way to do it. But I find that I often will have an opportunity to step into an alternate reality when I'm in nature or when I go to a museum, so on and so forth as well. Now with pick-me-ups, like what I've learned throughout the times is that when it comes to movie watching, I will pick a tried and true feel-good movie, because sometimes you're looking to step into an alternate reality to get inspired, to feel refreshed, and there's like a plot twist and something horrific or tragic happens and you're now emotionally jarred while in the process of trying to pick yourself up emotionally, which isn't fun, which has happened to me on multiple occasions. So if you are going to pick a movie, pick a tried and true pick-me-up movie. But sometimes, you know, even the emotional jarring movies still end up helping, because you're like, wow, like regardless of what I've gone through, like what they've gone through is not something that I would experience. Like I would rather have gone through my experiences than go through those experiences. And you can have a little bit of a moment of gratitude as it relates to that. I'm not sure if that happens to you, it happens to me. But I think giving yourself an opportunity to step away from what you've been immersed in by way of, you know, your emotional sort of state of mind and frame, and let yourself feel inspired, feel encouraged, feel enabled, empowered, I think is the best way to begin that pick-me-up process. Let's jump into my second tip. And my second tip is about experiential utility. And that might not be a catchphrase that you hear very frequently, but it's going to be something you hear a lot as part of this game changer community. And that really is making sure that I take stock of extracting as much value from each tear that I have shed during a low moment. And how do I do that? Is I make a point to extract all of the learning that I can, all of the growth and development that I can, all the lessons that I can from those specific situations. So I will take a moment to take a step back, to reflect, and to extract all of the learning. So all of the areas where I would do things differently, all of the areas I will celebrate where I've done things like in a way where I feel like I've honored myself. And the characters, I think sometimes when it comes to experiential utility, when it comes to experiencing different relationships or different friendships or even different situations that have garnished a reaction where we're feeling low, or we're feeling hurt, or we're feeling betrayed, I think that sometimes people feel like, you know, all you've left is chaos and confusion. And I'm not someone who, like, when I'm feeling low, it's not chaotic, it's not confusing. I mean, it's definitely debilitating, but I'm extracting utility from every tear, from every emotion. I want to learn. I'm trying to learn. My focus is on being better, showing up smarter, showing up just with more information available to ensure that I am supporting myself and also navigating my environment with more wisdom, with more knowledge, the better sense of how the world actually works and all of the operators in this world. So I typically will reflect, I might journal, but I'm not going to give these characters so much significance of like, I'm gonna write their name in a journal, like so-and-so hurt me. But I'll give them a caricature, I'll give them an alias, and it's gonna be slightly mean, but also slightly funny. Like, you know, Greedy Gus, that will be the name of someone that I know who they are, it's a codified name. But if Greedy Gus subjected me to much harm, I'm going to speak to what Greedy Gus has done, I'm going to speak to the emotions that Greedy Gus activated in me, and I'm going to speak to how I conquered all of the situations that Greedy Gus could have put me to face with. No chaos, no confusion, no destruction, just growth and improvement. And that's what I love about experiential utility. When you've grown through something, when you've gone through a hard situation, the last thing that you want to do was you kind of look at the impact that situation has had on you, is allow it to break you as well. I mean, let it build you. It will change you 100%. I think when you're going through painful situations, you're gonna go through change, you're gonna to be a different person, a different version of yourself, but always commit to yourself that you're going to be a better version of yourself. And experiential utility is the right way of going about that. My third tip by way of supporting yourself through a tough patch as you're trying to bounce back and step into this new normal is amp up the self-care. But amp up the self-care, this kind of self-care is a self-care with closure stamped on it. So I will set up something very special. It can still be at home, like it doesn't have to be elaborate or expensive by any means, but it will be different. It will be a different form of self-care. It will be a form of ritual that I go through that will also provide mental, emotional, spiritual closure to that situation. So even if that situation still thinks that it has captured my attention and it still is on my mind, once I go through that self-care, whatever pampering ritual I'm going through, whatever grooming ritual that I'm going through, and I say that because that's typically how my self-care translates. Once I am done that specific itinerary, I have closed the door on those individuals, on those relationships, and on those situations. I am mentally 10 steps ahead. And that's a commitment that I make to myself. A lot of the times we think that closure is something that is shared, it is a collective thing. It is not. It's something you give yourself as a gift. Just like forgiveness is something you give yourself as a gift. I am someone who is very forgiving. I let things go, not because I'm a saint, by no means am I Mother Teresa, but because it allows me to continue moving forward towards the things that are important to me. And too often we provide the villains of our story too much significance and importance by allowing them space in our emotional and mental frames longer than they should be there, right? And even if I've created a resolution, I know how I'm going to address it, I'm not going to obsess about it. I'm going to move forward with my goals, with my dreams, with my objectives, and I'm going to close the door with an amped up self-care ritual. So I think closure is something we give to ourselves. I don't think closure is something we need to seek out from other people. And when it comes to people who have hurt us, if we haven't really had an extended relationship with them, like why would we give them that kind of power? But even if we've had a relationship with them, even if we've had some sort of rapport, I'm not someone who really is interested in giving anyone any power over my closure. I give it to myself, and I typically will engage in a self-closure ritual to get that party started. And last but definitely not least is laugh. There is nothing more potent than laughter. If it is the case that you need a pick-me-up, you need to seek out something like some sort of comedic relief. And I don't know how that translates for you. Like for me, I'm an easy laugher. I love laughing, so it's quite easy for me to, find something that's going to make me giggle and chuckle here and there. But I'm talking about like deep cleansing laughter. There's something very detoxifying about laughing, and I think that if you give yourself an opportunity to have a good laugh over a series of a few days, it just lightens your mood and it just liberates you. Then I say embrace it. Then I say laugh. Give yourself an opportunity to feel carefree, to feel light, to feel jubilant, to feel joy, and to move forward. And yeah, that was a quick video. I don't think that it's very complicated by way of how we feel better, but I do think that it is still a toolkit that we need to develop. And these are the things that I do that are very effective for me, and I typically will cycle through these 4. I don't really need to go beyond these 4 by way of helping myself to bounce back. These are my tried and true, and I'm giving them to you. Now, before we close off this video, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we are going to be going live for the foreseeable future at least twice a month, every month on our Facebook page. Now, as it relates to our live events, these are paid events, but if it is the case that you see yourself participating in our Game Changer community, I suggest you look at our package plans. Yes, we do have membership plans here at Project Purpose, and they give you not only unlimited access to our live events, but also access to our webinars and workshops over and above those live events. So definitely be sure to meander over to the website and give that a look. I hope that this video provided you some insight and some tools to help you navigate if you're going through a tough time but are looking to bounce back and not quite sure how to do that. In any case, I look forward to engaging with you. I look forward to seeing your comments or getting your messages, and we'll chat soon.